Hello Plappers. Welcome to another mix breakdown. This time I'm going to go through my remix for City Lights, which is by the Workday Release. I thoroughly enjoyed mixing this. I think when I first heard the synths on this, 100% went down that sort of that road of, gosh, I guess sort of psychedelic furs, kind of 1980s Human League sort of style. Absolutely loved it. So let's kick off. So yeah, full remix of the rhythm section and the structure of the song to a certain degree. Essentially, as usual, I went through and redid all of the drums and everything else through Reason. I find it a lot easier to write in Reason than I do in something like Pro Tools. So as you can see, in this particular project in Pro Tools, I have Reason outputs marked as tracks, and then I'll just record whatever the output is. Just find that a lot easier to work that way, which is cool. So yeah, my usual monitor chain, I have the Abbey Road Studio 3 on here. I only really use it to check in different environments, which is super handy. And then Sonar works. So yeah, typically through my K702s, which is great. I was really surprised when I saw the curve on those. It was like the drop off after 100 hertz is nuts. But anyway, they sound good. I like them. And then, yeah, so to the drums. Really with the remixes, I tend to go loops and then build them out from there. So I'll find some loops that I like, ensure that they work and you know, drop them in. And I'll tend to muck about with them in Reason and then cut them up again in Pro Tools if I need to, although I didn't do that so much here. I'll use, as you can see, I've got the Abbey Road TG12345 on here. Yeah, trying to push that and not drive it so much, but just get a bit more warmth and a bit more interest into just your sort of your static bass kick loops. So if I just play a little bit of that, it's just your fairly standard sort of 4 on the floor sort of deal. And then I will fill that out with another sort of similar kind of loop. Just a slightly different sound. That's going through an API, some serious cutting and boosting going on there, just for some significant differences. And then the kick hi-hat, again, really focusing on the hat rather than the kick. So if I take that, you can see just really pushing the hat rather than the kick on that one. And this one was kind of cool. These are these are bongos, and they only come in on the choruses. These are really groovy. I put this rotor speaker on. I really love using sort of slightly odd effects like Leslie speakers or, you know, weird things. And it just sort of spreads it around a little bit. Just a very low mix, which I thought was fun. And then going into something a bit skippier, which marries really nicely with the bongos. I love the groove of that. That's really cool. And that's going through a filter as well. Is it good? No, good. Yeah, focusing on the hi-hat, sort of really rolling off a lot of that bottom end, so that the kick is driven by these loops up here rather than the new one. And then this guy, sort of similar to something skippy, but a bit more techy, technical, so kind of like metal, weird sort of sounds, and that's going into down here. Okay, so this must have been before I really got into. Usually I make my FX sends like a really light pink fuchsia color to make them easily identifiable. So yeah, as you can see, I've got a spring reverb there coming from a Mondo mod. I love this, it's really bizarre, does lots of sort of weird stuff. I think that might even be on a Pensado, Dave Pensado preset that I then go and muck about with. But yeah, I quite like those slightly odd, strange effects and stuff. I think they're really fun. And then individual instruments, so kick, really focusing on helping to push the kick up, driving a lot of the bottom end, pulling out that sort of mid-range of the kick. And then some more kicks. And what do we got? And so a bit more kind of roomy sort of deal. So what I've done here is used the dupe of the kick here and R-based it to get some bottom end. So pushing that sort of, you know, they go 30, 40 hertz for that real low end. And then the snare, I think Warren commented on this, you know, having different snares in the chorus and the verse. Just use that as a little way to push the chorus. Like just roll up to the chorus and then push the chorus further. And on the SSL there, yeah, driving that pretty hard with some severe cutting going on. Yeah, I tend to, with EQs and stuff like that, go quite extreme and then back it off a fair bit. And then, yeah, other snares going through, more filtering. Again, rolling off to the bottom end. And the reverb, so a thing I use, maybe it's just I am a child of the 80s and the 70s. I really like that sort of reverse snare to snare thing. Timing's not fantastic on that, but I think it worked for me at the time, so that was good. And then the glitch one, when we get to the bridge, is just a little bit, I think you'll recognize that. So rather than sort of a rise into the final choruses, I just did something like that, which was just kind of fun. And the effects, like just a big delay to spread it out. That's just standard Avid stock delay. And then various other sort of weird, fun effects loops and stuff like submarines. So just something to really spread it out a bit, do some weird stuff on the outskirts of your hearing. Cymbals, cymbal rolls, crashes, nothing too spectacular there, fairly standard sort of stuff. Studio reverb over the top of it, which is cool. I think this was the free one. I can't remember if this came from where this came from. Oh, it's Avid. There you go. So yeah, it's just stock reverbs. And where are we? So yeah, Sasha Explosions, which is always good. Going into a big reverb, which is the strings reverb. We'll come to that in a minute. So intro loop, that's just a really heavily smashed kit. So you can see some serious compression going on there. Yeah, just really driving that in a big way. Yeah, automating the delay on that. So that's just a throw at the end at the end of that loop, which I've automated to go over that gap. And the claps, which I've cut up and move those around a fair bit. It's just the gang claps. Nothing too spectacular. Yeah, using a lot of the SSL. I'm used to SSLs. I used to work on them a lot, so I know them fairly well. I know what kind of sound they give me, which is good. And what else? So bass DI. So yeah, for some reason I use the DI for a lot of the top end on this one, but I think because I fuzzed it out a fair bit. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, it's quite dark. And then the amp for a lot of the character, cut off a lot of the bottom end on this particular one. And then this guy, really pushed the nose of this one. And join it with the synth bass. Which was cool. Synth bass going through the Prig Tech, pumping some 60 into that, and again boosting further the high mids, and yeah, cutting the high mids as well, which is kind of weird, but it works. Tend to just put it in and then tweak as a whole rather than, I think Warren talks about that a lot. I think it's the general consensus is get a sound that you like overall for the track and then go in and muck about with things and tweak to make them fit and get the sound that you want is always good. And across the bass, good old DBX160, MV2, fantastic piece of kit. I sometimes forget that I have it, and then someone, when I put a mix in to get some feedback from people, someone says, "Oh, don't forget the MV2," and it always works. You put it on and it's just fantastic. It just tightens everything up. It's brilliant. Best plugin. And going into our bass, again pushing the 60 hertz there to get a bit of bass, a bit of sub happening. Yeah, it didn't get too much in the way of the kick, which is good. And then synth bass. So most of these synths and synth basses tend to come from the original track. I just grab the instrumentation there and cut it up as necessary. And going into Prig Tech, I love this plugin. It's really great. Good for mastering, good for individual tracking. It's great. Cool. Acoustic guitar, not a whole lot happened here. I didn't do much, just sort of spread it across. This was originally the instrumentation in the chorus to try and get some width, but then in the first feedback Friday I managed to get this in, and Warren gave some great feedback, and part of that was additional instrumentation in the chorus, which I'll come to in a minute, but this was the first one. My favorite, the Valhalla Vintage Reverb. Again, if you can stretch just to buy this, I strongly recommend getting it. It's a brilliant reverb unit, really, really good, really flexible, and has got lots of different ways you can muck about with the sound. There's also the free frequency echo, or echo frequency, I can't remember what it's called, but it's free from Valhalla and it's brilliant, really odd, but fantastic. So get that, it's good. And yes, just cleaning up the bottom end, cutting that out. Don't need all those lows, which is from the acoustic, so that's good. Let's just have a... Yeah, really wide. I love that sort of thing out in the outskirts of your hearing that you just sort of go, what's that? That's interesting. I really like that. Cool. And then all the guitars. So I like to reamp things. Yeah, the Rock Rack is great. Yeah, really good reamp. I've started using the IK Multimedia amplitude now, though. I actually think I prefer that. This is good for something quick, to get something quick and quick and dirty. But I think the amplitude has got a lot more things to tweak, and you can muck about with mic position on the cabinet and stuff like that, which is cool. I mean, this comes with some really good presets, which I really like. All the different cabs, which are cool. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I like to get in there and just muck about with stuff, you know. But it's good to throw something up quickly and you know, get some cool little effects coming out of it. It's good. So that's on the DI. My favorite SSL channels back up again. Let's see what this guy sounds like. So yeah, pretty, not too much going on. Just sort of thinning it out a little bit. Just pushing those high mids, or those mids, to give it a bit more nose, which is good. And I would have just duplicated the Rock Rack for the other DI, all of them in fact. And then this guy is your Let's get all of these, get the sound all together. So less a wall of guitars and more kind of that sort of peripheral instrumentation. Obviously this is a bit more pop dancey kind of remix. So you really don't want lots of bottom end just filling up the wall. It's really not the vibe, but there's some great playing there. It's really cool. Tim Pierce, obviously, by the look of things, which is super good. Okay. All of these tracks, I bounced everything. So you've got individual tracks bounced, and there's 2 sessions, one with everything and all of my preset settings. I understand obviously not everyone's going to have the same plugins. So there's also a multi-track just ready for mixing with just all of the tracks in, and no plugins. Okay, and then another verse guitar, again SSL channel, and then on the pre-chorus, what's this guy doing? Oh yeah, cool. So yeah, going into the spring reverb. I love my spring reverbs. Anything that's a bit odd, love those. They're very groovy. What have we got here? H delay. Oh, okay. So this is So just using the RComp to compress the original sound, just to kind of clean it up a bit. I'm actually just compressing this just to push it more, bring it more forward, rather than just sort of turn it up. Just using the compression to give it a bit more front, which I like. And what else have we got here going on? Then going into strings, so the strings again I kind of treated more like a synthy sort of deal. As you can see, I do a fair bit of automation with things, which is cool. I was lucky enough to pick up the vintage Aural Exciter from Waves. It was on sale for $29, one of their usual $29.99s. This is cool. Yeah, just Aural Exciters are fun. They do all sorts of odd things. So you can see what this sounds like. So it's going through an Air Talk box that I've actually got synced to, I think, a note or something. I remember doing that. And then, going through classic Mac DSP EQ, which is groovy. And then if I open this guy, my H3000 and this space. So this is the EQ. I've used this a couple of times. This one actually emulates a whole bunch of different rooms and spaces. The Onsleeve in Amsterdam is a big church in Amsterdam. I like any of these sort of naturally emulated spaces are really cool. You get some interesting sounds and sort of just some unique reverbs and room reverbs, which is really groovy. Strongly recommend using that. Just comes with Avid. It's an Avid one. It's great. It's really cool. Let's just have a look at what this is. So you can hear it really pushes that top end of the strings, which is cool. It spreads them out. And then take this off. More TP guitar, so this is more synthy kind of guitar. Again, it's got that kind of fireflies out on the peripherals, going through the Sands amp for some dirt, which is cool. And then delay into a reverb, into a compressor. So again, I think, yeah. So just driving that so that it's just holding the delays and the reverb back a little bit, except for when he's not playing. So you just sort of get that automatic delay and reverb throw, which is kind of cool. Risers are just what are they? Those risers going into breakdowns or coming out of a breakdown into choruses. And then all of the synths, just did a lot of cutting up, found bits that work together, moved them around, which was really good fun. I love some of these synths, they just sound amazing. Let's try this guy. Brilliant. So yeah, going into phases. My old favourite, the Valhalla, which is cool. And then the effects and all of that sort of stuff. Compressing all of them. And just a standard delay, nothing fancy. What else? Anything else going on in here? The MJUC compressor from Klanghelm. This is the free one. It's great, really good. Yeah, really cool thing. I don't use that enough actually. I should use it more. That's good. Anything else of note to talk about here? Not really. So then in the chorus, I introduced the piano. So just to add an extra element in the chorus, as Warren was saying, he felt he needed that, and I kind of agree with him. It just needed something to give it a bit more of a lift in the chorus. So I added the piano in there, and that's using the T-Rax linear phase EQ on mid-side setting. So as you can see, I've got the delay warning up there because I'm using mid-side. Mid-side takes up a lot of processing power. So yeah, just be wary when you use mid-side. Basically, what I've done is on the mid, rolled off some of the very low end, kept the mid-range, low mids, and then on the sides, basically boosting the top end, cutting low mids, to try and make sure we don't get too much mud. And what's that one? That's 1, 2, 3. So you can see like the 677, so that's honky, kind of try and get the honk out. Some of that low mid mud down there, get rid of a bit of that, and roll off the bottom end. And then boost the tops up here, 14K, 7K. 14K, I'm still lucky enough, I can hear 14K just about, thank God. Yeah, so that worked quite nicely actually. That was good, got some good spread on that, that was good. And then further through the REQ, more bottom end roll off, and the old MJUC compressor. And then yeah, just a standard H verb, nothing fancy. Just to preset the piano preset there, nothing particularly amazing. The thing I like about the H verb, you can go in and muck about with the EQs, so just sort of, you know, roll off the EQs. I've done that here on the early reflections, and you can damp off some of the other EQ of the verb here, which is good. And then the vocals. So as you can see here, lots and lots and lots of cutting up of the vocals. Let's just zoom in here. So this intro gave me lots of trouble for timing. I'm still not 100% happy with it, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was. I think never be afraid to get in there, cut vocals up or cut anything up and just see if it works and make it fit to what you're trying to do. You know, I think if it sounds good, it is good. So don't ever let anyone be precious about this stuff. The vocal chain, wave sibilance, it's pretty good. I'm still not 100% sold, but I use it a lot. It's not bad. SSL channel, so rolling off the bottom end, pushing some of the highs, pulling out some of the honk. He's got a little bit of a nasal voice, as David, unfortunately, but that's okay. And pulling out a bit more of the low mids, with a wee bit of compression on there as well. And then into the old MV2, found this worked quite nicely on his voice, which was good. Pre-tech, so pulling out some more bottom end, boosting some of the highs, and a little bit of boost there of 100. So that sort of boost and cut doesn't quite work there because I'm cutting a lot more than I'm boosting, but you get the idea. Back into another de-esser again, and then the RVox for compression, which is fairly just standard compression. And yeah, I tend to sort of repeat that vocal chain to some degree across all of the vocals, using the Valhalla and that compressor after the reverb, just to pull out the dry signal, and then once he stops, it goes off into that reverb, which is lovely. The EC300 is the Mac DSP, just 8th and 16th, so giving a little bit of a ping-pongy kind of deal, a little bit of feedback, and I think doing a bit of EQ across the tape, which is good. And then yeah, similar vocal chain across all of the BVs. What you will see if you work on this is that I've cut them up a lot and moved things around. Let me just reduce that. That's better. So this is the intro vocal here. Let me do this. There we go. So the intro vocal, which is, all I've done is just duplicated the channel, the sub channel here, and then automated it, just done a bit more of extra different compression and distortion for the intro. That's it, really. Nothing too fancy. It's just basically these vocals taken and cut up. That's it. So, nothing magic. Again, as you can see, going in and cutting, I think this bit, damn it, this bit here, can't remember where I cut that. I think I probably dropped in some double ups and whatnot. So yeah, I'll tend to drop, if I want to double track a vocal, I might take one chorus, drop it into the second chorus, and then vice versa. So you get sort of a bit of a double track going on. And that is it. And then on my master bus, the SSL compressor and the good old G-bus compressor. I've got a lot of level going into this master bus. I really need to work on my levels going into my master bus. I think it's just my monitoring's not fantastic. So yeah, just 10 ratio, 10 to 1. Yeah. Yeah, this was a while ago. I need to work on this for sure. I think I don't really use these sorts of settings anymore. I think I've improved a little bit, thank goodness. And the ML1 limiter, I've actually stopped using limiters on my master bus. I tend to use that, leave that for mastering these days. Just a compressor, and keep it as light as possible. Just something to glue things together rather than actually use it as a particular sound. And that's it. As I said, there's two projects. There's one with all of the plugins available with settings, etc., and the tracks bounced to individuals, just to keep it clean. And then there's another project using the same multi-tracks, but with no plugins and no funny routing or anything like that, all ready for mixing. So yeah, I hope you enjoy, and good luck.